Good day, everybody. This is the Session 5 recap and an introduction to Session 6 of the CW Ops fundamental course in Morse code and CW operations. So first of all, thanks for your patience today. We had a lot of information today. It ran over, and I think we probably had our session bloated with information. So the purpose of this video is to review some of the things we talked about previously, and I'm also going to introduce some of the information from Session 6, which is our upcoming session. So first of all, let me review some of the vocabulary that I had intended to present today but didn't have a chance. So first of all, so this is our list of things that we'll be covering in this brief review video. First of all, the new vocabulary, beginning with this word. CONDX, the CW word for conditions, typically used to discuss propagation. So conditions are great or not so great. So we'll be just in a second going over how we would use them. So our next word. SN, the CW word for soon. Kind of related. It's another one of those words that has two consecutive E letters. Been. I have been to your QTH. So our next word. The CW word for better. I'm referring back to my list here, so sorry, having to look away. The CW word for please. And finally, the CW word for hope. Hope, HP. Again, in keeping with our goal in CW to make sure that we have the letters and words as tight as possible so we can make sure our communication comes out with the least amount of fluff. So again, all the words together. Conditions. Soon. BN, the CW word for been. I have been there. The CW word for better, BTR. please, the CW word for please. Then finally, hope. Okay, and then two pro signs we just didn't get time for today. The first, AR. AR. So this is the word that we use to end the exchange of a Q. So it's a redundant particle because we typically use the word KN to indicate I'm done, it's back to you. And many times in CW, despite our goal to try to keep things nice and tight, we'll have redundancies, and this is one of those. AR is used to indicate that you're done with the exchange, you're giving it back to the other station. So here's the usage. So did you get that? Where we used AR, it came right at the end there. I'm going to send just that part. It came right before the handshake, the call sign handshake. And why do we have it there? We had a KN right at the end, so we throw this other particle in right before the exchange. And the answer is, honestly, it just sounds nice. It's something we used to send all the time back in the old days of CW. It has kind of a musical sound, and a lot of operators will just throw that in, and it comes in the most unusual places. For example, sometimes during a CQ call, an operator will send that in, and typically it's when the operator has been sending many times, no one's answered their CQ. So it'll be kind of like this. the CQ sent 3 times, DE, my call sign, sent twice, AR, K. So why do you have that there? You don't have to have it there at all. It means literally the same thing as K at the end, but kind of hangs on, and it just sounds cool. It's actually one of my favorite pro signs. And then the other pro sign is one of my pet peeve pro signs, BK, which has 2 ways of being sent. The first is just as BK. Just as correct is sending it as a pro sign. Okay, first of all, this does not mean back to you, which I hear all the time. It does not mean back to you. And I know in POTA, they use this all the time to end an exchange like that. That is grammatically incorrect. But, kind of getting it off into an aside here, it's common usage now. And languages, just like any language, including CW, they evolve, right? And so sometimes as you go along, different usages will all of a sudden develop. And I think that's what happens with POTA. But in the rest of ham radio, BK means break. It means break typically to clarify something that the other operator has said. So, for example, we would go along and perhaps the RST didn't come through clearly or was a nonsense RST, and you wanted to confirm that. So you would say, RST question mark, BK, break. The other operator realizes, okay, they didn't get the RST. So you acknowledge that the QSO has been broken by sending BK, the clarification, BK again, send it back to the other station. The other operator knows that, okay, now I need to splice this back together again. BK, thank you for clarifying. Then they go on with the QSO. So in practical terms, it would be like this. And I don't have a way of changing the tone to represent the other station. So it's all going to be the same. I will indicate when the other station is going to send. So let's go ahead and take the example of the RST being kind of nonsense. I hate that I messed that up right at that point. Pick it up again with QTH, is. That's the exchange. Obviously, the RST was messed up by this other operator, in this case, which was me. And we used AR in that as well. So the other station, N3JT, is trying to make sense of all this because the RST was screwed up. And so in their exchange, they want to clarify that, and they'll use BK. So to do that, Okay, so N3JT is confused because that RST didn't make a difference. So what they're doing is RST question mark break. Okay, now the other operator, okay, which is me, it's like, okay, I recognize now that that out of station wants to clarify the RST because they said RST question mark BK. Okay, so I picked that up. Now, in this sort of situation, you don't have to worry about the call sign exchange or KN, none of that stuff. All you're doing is clarifying that one bit of information. You're breaking the QSO, splicing in the answer to that question, and then putting it back. So I'm replying to the other station briefly. Providing just the information, a short response, because the other station just wants a short response. And then I send BK at the end so that we can splice this back into the QSO. Now, the other station then will acknowledge that by also sending BK. And then they go on with the QSO. BK used to clarify something that requires a short response, your name, or didn't get your call sign, or need to repeat the RST, or the weather, or rig, or whatever. You send that in order to clarify something you did not get from the other station, something that you expect a simple response to. All right, so then the next question is, well, when would you use BK to represent back to you? Or better yet, what do you use to represent back to you? And that is actually BTU, back to you. I guess British thermal units too as well. Back to you is what we use for this, mostly in CW. BTU. Oh, I sent that backwards, sorry. There we go. Send that to indicate back to you. Okay, so I think that was the kind of most important stuff from the session today. Oh, maybe I could also add the correct way to send to CQ. You guys have already heard me say this, but I might say that pay attention to this because this could be something that I will begin the lesson with next time. So we always send CQ 3 times, DE, R call sign twice, and then K. Very simple formula. Ending with K rather than KN because K is means that the exchange was meant for anybody to respond to. Okay, so again, apologies we didn't get time to do this stuff during session 5. We'll review all this new information on session 6. Remember, session 6 is going to be primarily QSO work, so we'll be using that general standard formula for QSO, so make sure you're familiar with that. And then finally, also make sure that you can send and receive your call sign at 10 words a minute. That is critical, and your name as well. All right, so again, thank you guys for a wonderful session 5. A little bit rushed, but appreciate your patience with that. And as we move along here, we'll be kind of building in this information. Make sure to review the new vocabulary, though, because we'll be using that next time. Okay, 73s. See you.